Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into Chapter 7 of the official Python tutorial to figure out how to make our programs actually interact with the world. Yep, we're talking input and output. So, think about this for a second. Is your Python program kind of like a black box? I mean, your code could be doing all this amazing stuff inside, solving super complex problems, but if it can't tell anyone the answer or save its work for later, all of that power is just trapped. Yeah, it can think, but it can't talk or remember. And that's exactly what we're going to fix in this explainer. We're going to solve two huge problems. First, how to make your program's output actually clear and readable for humans. And second, how to make its data stick around so it doesn't just vanish when the program stops. Okay, let's get right into it. First up, we're going to teach our programs how to talk, with a little bit of flair. We're moving way beyond basic print statements to really master some fancier output formatting. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Over on the left, we've just kind of thrown a bunch of values at the print function. It's a mess, right? But on the right, using some simple formatting, we get a clean, perfectly aligned sentence that a person can actually read. That is the power we're after. So what's the secret sauce for this in modern Python? It's something called formatted string literals, but honestly, everybody just calls them f-strings. They are this super intuitive way to just embed your Python expressions directly inside a string. All you got to do is put an F right before the opening quote. And look how simple it is in practice. You literally just write your variable, or any expression really, inside a pair of curly braces, and boom, Python just drops the value right in for you. It's clean, it's readable, and it is so powerful. And you can take this even further, which is where it gets really cool. By adding a colon and a number right after your variable, you can specify a minimum width for that field. This is absolutely fantastic for creating these beautiful, tidy, aligned columns, perfect for generating reports or tables right from your code. Now, a quick heads up, you are definitely going to see other ways of formatting in older Python code. Things like the string.format method or that old C-style % operator. And look, they still work. But for any new projects you're starting, f-strings are the way to go. They're the modern standard, and let's be honest, they're just easier. Okay, so our program can communicate clearly now. That's great. But what happens when it shuts down? All that information, poof, it's gone. So the next logical step is to give our program a memory. And we do that by learning how to read from and write to files. The gateway to all of this is the built-in open function. It's wonderfully simple. You give it a file name, and you give it a mode, which basically just tells Python what you plan on doing with that file. And that mode is really important. The most common ones you'll see are R to read a file that's already there, W to write to a file, but be careful, that one will overwrite anything that exists, and A to append, which just adds your new data to the very end of the file. Now, the old school way of doing this was a three-step process. You'd open the file, you'd do your reading or writing, and then, this is the risky part, you had to explicitly remember to call .close. It worked, but you know, what happens if an error pops up before you get to that f.close line? Forgetting to close a file can lead to some real problems, like corrupted data or your program just holding on to system resources it doesn't need anymore. And that brings us to the single most important, the absolute golden rule of handling files in Python. So here's the crucial point. Whenever you work with files, you should always use the with statement. This piece of syntax right here is your new best friend. So why is it so great? Because the with statement creates the special context that guarantees, and I mean guarantees, the file will be properly and automatically closed the second you're done with it. It doesn't matter if your code finishes or if it crashes with an error, Python makes sure that file gets closed. What's really so amazing about this is just how elegant the solution is. Before we had the with statement, you had to write this clunky, hard-to-read try finally block just to get the same guarantee. The with statement replaces all of that with a single, clean, readable line. It's just better. And once your file is open inside that with block, actually interacting with it is pretty straightforward. You can use methods like .read to grab all the contents, .readline to go line by line, or .write to send your own data into the file. Simple as that. Okay, let's zoom out for a minute. We've learned how to format our output and handle files safely. So what? What's the big picture here? Why are these two skills so foundational? It's because these are the essential building blocks that turn your code from just a simple script into a real-world application. They let your program communicate clearly with the user and, crucially, let it remember things by saving data to and loading it from memory. So if you walk away with just 2 things from this explainer, please let it be these. For your output, use f-strings. They are the modern standard. And for your files, always use the with statement. It is the safest, cleanest, and best way to do it. Seriously, mastering these 2 concepts just unlocks a whole new level of programming. You can now build things that interact, that save progress, that generate reports. You've unlocked a whole new set of possibilities. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?